Welcome to the Morpheus Cyber Podcast. Today, Mistral declares war on OpenAI. French underdogs are taking on Silicon Valley's AI giants with open source weapons, while crypto gamblers are suddenly worth $1 billion a week. Grab your phone and vote in our live polls. ahaslides.com/MCA5.
A French startup just threw down the gauntlet against OpenAI's closed empire with models anyone can download and modify.
Crypto prediction markets hit 1 billion weekly. Turns out the internet's favorite gambling addiction might actually predict the future.
Nuclear startup raises $96 million to power AI data centers because apparently ChatGPT needs its own personal reactor.
Cloudflare blocked 400 billion AI bot requests. The web scraping wars are getting absolutely ridiculous.
Vote along with us at ahaslides.com/MCA5. Let's dive in.
This is your captain speaking. At this time, I'm going to ask you to fasten your seatbelts. Flight 527, runway 8 kilo. You're clear for takeoff.
Hey guys, here we are. It's recording day again. Jim, I know you're out in California, so you're on the road.
Yeah.
Gus, you're in the home office there, and
Sure.
I'm in my home office. Good on y'all. It's been an interesting week as we look out on the news front. And one of the things that's obviously we're always covering our 5 topics: AI, crypto, quantum, robotics, and so we're looking at all these topics all the time and finding the greatest news and the most interesting things. But on techfuturesindex.com, we publish, obviously, the statistics about that. And we'll publish some of those for you, and we might talk about them a little bit. But the issue that's before us this week is OpenAI is trudging ahead, no holds barred. They are moving forward, just praise the Lord and pass the ammunition type style.
I saw that, and we talked a little bit about Mistral last week in our last episode. We were talking about this circular investment ecosystem that was going on, which they are very much a part of. And I thought, oh, wow, I saw that come up in the news again, or in the out there article about Mistral, and I thought, so now I see why they're connected to this whole ecosystem, because they're doing something completely different than anybody else. And those founders are originally from Google, DeepMind and Meta, right? So they came out and went to Mistral and came up with this new concept of an open weight system that anyone can use. I was thinking, is that valuable? Yeah, I guess it is, because companies want to weight how they get the results from an AI response. They want to fine tune it to their company, their organization. They don't want the wrong answers weighted in someone else's value system. They want their value system. So, oh, that's cool.
Now, the name of this organization reminds me of a menstrual cycle. So I don't know what these guys in France are doing with the name of their companies, but
I thought a minstrel was the person who plays
a singer.
Yeah, minstrel show.
I know. I'm just kidding. I just thought I'd laugh a little bit.
Anyhow, that minstrel is only 18 months old.
Yeah,
and they're challenging AI. They're challenging all the big wigs at a year and a half in. That's all they are.
And what do you make of the fact that they are part of that investment cycle? What's your take on that?
They're going to be a big AI provider. So they're incestuous with NVIDIA because they need NVIDIA's help, right? They need the processing power. So that's NVIDIA's investing in them, because they say, oh yeah, the more we have out there, the better. So look at it from NVIDIA's standpoint. If I can get all these big AI companies out there, cloud AI companies out there, they're going to need more compute. Yeah, sure, I'm going to give you some, do well, because you're going to need more compute power. So that's what I mean. And then Mistral again puts money into other companies as well, and trying to get them to invest in them, other cloud companies that'll host their application. That kind of thing is going on constantly. So if you look at our last episode, I encourage anybody to go back and look at our last episode to understand exactly just how all of these companies are feeding into each other and just basically propping up their financials. So it's a win-win for all of those guys. So I can't say anything negative necessarily about it, as long as it all just keeps flowing. That's the big issue. Last week we talked about, boy, I hope that ecosystem just keeps flowing, that nobody defaults anywhere, nobody falls apart because they're all dependent on each other.
Yeah, that's what they call a bubble. But let's talk about Minstrel and what they're offering people. It
Sure.
is a European offering, and it's one of the things that they're doing to compete. But think about it. OpenAI is a closed weighting factor system, whereas this is an open weighting factor, and you can download the entire Mistral open weighted system and use it and get essentially equivalents to OpenAI 4. Now, the difference is that you don't have to pay anything for it.
It's a
Whereas
big difference.
OpenAI is a closed and you can only access it through a paid API. Whereas this, you can download the whole thing. Now, you still have to have it on a robust platform, right? A server platform to put it to work. So that's something that we obviously need to understand. That's part and parcel to the whole thing. But think about it. There are people who don't need to rent this. And you think about a Fortune 500 company who has AI. Do you want, and you've got 10,000 employees, you're going to pay a 10,000 employee license usage on the OpenAI system, the API key, and you're going to pay for that every single month. Whereas if you can just download this whole Minstrel system, put it onto one of your server, you still have to have server environments, and then host it yourself, which is a lot of work. And matter of fact,
Well, and updates. You got to keep the thing updated, and there's a lot of inconvenience with that, but free
the
is pretty powerful.
self-hosting, which is exactly why Minstrel also has an API offering in case you don't want to host it yourself and spend all that money in updating. They have a lower cost API that you can get access to, just like OpenAI or Claude or Grok or what have you. So
Well, it's once again the whole issue of keeping your proprietary methods local to yourself. In other words, you download their weights, you put it into your own system on site in your own infrastructure, and you modify it yourself. Nobody else offers that. That's the big selling thing. It's not even necessarily cost. You can't do this with anybody else. They're the first ones that say, we're going to let you decide how you want to weight the answers that come out of AI. So that
there are Jim Llama and some Facebook models. They're just not very robust.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They're competing against GPT-4 and Claude. That's specifically who they are competing against. And those two other AI systems don't offer this capability. They don't let you go in and toy around and adjust the metrics. You know, how I want it to be more weighted this direction. That's what open weighting is. It just means you decide how to weight the system. That's all this means. And no one else says you can do that. We don't let you. Like, for instance, you get the result that GPT-4 decides is the best weight for in general for the public. And we're now an organization can say, I don't like that. I don't like the way that you weight things. We're going to weight it differently. And so that's why Minstrel is now allowing you to customize that and do that. So I think they're going to get some traction pretty quick.
You know,
And the fact
OpenAI,
that it also runs on your own infrastructure.
yeah, that's definitely a plus, and you're saving a bunch of dough. That's convenient. But OpenAI does offer an open weighted option as well.
Oh, you
So
just
sort
have to
of,
pay for it.
yeah, you
Yeah,
have to pay for it, but
I
you get
see.
some of the convenience. So I wonder if that might be a hybrid model that might be popular.
Oh,
Definitely all the above. I think people are going to look at various things. And I think they're going to look at these options for various markets and various topics, right? Because we're going to have AIs in the future that are going to be super powerful on the nano level. It's going to know everything about this, and it's going to have great granularity, but it's not going to cover everything. For instance, Claude doesn't have some text to speech capabilities, maybe never will. Why? Because they're over in the corporate market and they're doing different things. So every one of these different models has areas that they specialize in. And when you go to train these models, it takes weeks and weeks or months, and it's tens of millions of dollars for each one of these model build outs. And then you have to figure out how to monetize that model once you have it. So Mistral is building their own models. They allow you to download them and weight them yourselves, but I'm not so certain. The jury's still out about how many people are going to want to do that.
Well,
But yeah,
we also talked last week about Amazon releasing their AI factory, basically
yeah.
AI in a box. I just watched for this kind of coupling together of Minstrel and Amazon offering this AI factory, because Minstrel claims they can run on an internal box that has eight GPUs. That's what they require, 8 GPUs. And already the Amazon is going to offer that exact box. Here's your AI box, run your Minstrel on it. Here you go. So there's a partnership immediately. So I would see that coming very soon.
Yeah, good point. I think it's just a matter of I don't know if really Minstrel is quite as good, or if they'll continue to be as good, or if they'll pass up Cursor and Chat. But it's just a matter of whether enterprises are going to be choosing convenience. And so, yeah, sure. I'm sure Minstrel does a great job. It ain't broken. I like what ChatGPT has to offer, and it's
Yeah.
convenient, although it's expensive.
Let's go back in time and just look at how the markets have changed. We had Windows, right? And the servers were going out there and were very expensive. You had to pay for every server, and they got very expensive, SQL Server and everything else through Microsoft. And then there was Linux, and Linux took over all of this software. And it was essentially, if you don't think about the cost of support, the software's essentially no charge, but
Yeah.
you have to support it yourself. Well, the thing is that where has all of that gone? There's still some Windows servers out there, right? But they're
Sure.
nowhere near what they are. Most everything now runs on a Linux platform. There's no fees associated with it. So Minstrel is kind of like the same thing as the transformative process of using Linux distributions.
That's a great analogy. Absolutely. That is good. Yeah, and they already claim that they can match GPT-4 performance on key benchmarks. So they're saying we're just as fast on as GPT-4, and they support 80 programming language. So they're up against Claude, got 80 languages that they already support. So you can ask it to do the same kind of programming that you're asking for in Claude, and probably at a very par level.
That's interesting. And so we'll be keeping track of that over time and revisiting that as we go.
Yeah, so maybe Minstrel's the new Linux. You
Could
heard it
be.
here
Funny
first,
how-
folks. You heard it here first.
Yeah, it's funny how these names keep popping up every week. So yeah, we'll probably discuss more about Mistral in the future.
So now I have to say, what if we went out to one of the crypto prediction markets and essentially put our money on whether Minstrel or OpenAI or Grok or Claude, which one's going to do better?
I bet it's in there. Bet you it's in there.
Yeah, exactly. And so that brings us to the next topic, right? You can pretty much bet on almost anything. Matter of fact, sports players have learned that they can bet on their individual statistics, and then they can basically take a dive and not achieve those statistics and tell their friends about it, so everybody makes some money. But these crypto prediction markets are like Polymarket, and there's another one that just came out. It's KALSHI.
Oh,
They've actually been around for a long time, these prediction markets. The difference here is the crypto. The fact in that USDC coin, US dollar coin.
Yeah,
And
CFTC. Yes.
And that changes the game, because they used to be limited by banking regulations, and now it's wide open.
Yeah, there was a guy who made $85 million
yeah, I saw that
on the presidential election. Wow. Right. And you can make a bet on Taylor Swift's next album. And it's just, it doesn't matter if it's something that's in the public's purview and you have someone else who might bet on it. There's two sides out there. And now, how do these companies make money? They are not taking the opposite side of your bet. That's not how these work.
Vegas does.
No, they are not participating as the house. They get a small percentage for transactional fees. So it's basically, if I bet against you, Jim, you bet against me, the people who bet for or again, the money comes from the people who are willing to place the opposite bet, not the house, which is an interesting betting situation, right?
I'm not much of a gambler, so this subject, I know it's not going to go away and it's going to be there and be part of our society for forever, probably. There's always been this people betting on the outcome of things, but here's my concern. And when I read this, I said, one thing I don't like about this, they're just not predicting outcomes. This market that they've created doesn't just predict outcomes, but more than likely they're going to start shaping incentives around the outcomes. In other words, and we've already seen it. We've already seen basketball players ejecting themselves out of games before because there was some bet or number about how many quarters or that they were going to be a part of or whatever. It's just there's incentive now to change the outcome. And every one of these things that they're taking any type of wager on.
Thought the same thing, Jim, and none of those results are good. Like I even thought about political election. Then you get some wingnut out there that's got $10 million bet against Trump, and guess what he's going to want to do?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we don't even mention that, but yeah, we can put that together. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just, I don't think it's a good thing. Gambling's never been a great thing, but it makes people rich. And some people think it's just fun, like a game. You're right. I got surplus money. It doesn't matter if it makes money. Hey, fun.
It's entertainment by the hour, and you limit your stake by the hour, and you say, if I go to Las Vegas and I'm going to play, I have a very small stake, and I can continue playing because the table's return statistically is 99.5.
Exactly. You just made my point. Yeah, that you only are, these are people who are just thinking very narrowly around this little scope. Now you're looking at this platform being able to allow you to wager on things that affect the world, the economy, everything. And this is now, it doesn't just, your decision to bet doesn't just affect you. It affects many others that are now thinking, how can I win on this? And things that we don't want to talk about.
Yeah, like the ending of the Ukraine and Russia war. I bet you could go bet on it.
I think what's interesting is that it is taking off. Look at how it's took off. I'm surprised by that because we've had online gambling. I could be playing blackjack right now. What's the difference? The difference is that flipping a coin for money is boring, but betting on a political election, that's intriguing. So I think
or a ball game, or
it's where your interests are, right? Where your interests are. They've created a broader, open air avenue for people to bet on the things they care about.
Right. Rather than just sports or blackjack.
Yeah, so I get it. That's why it's going to stay. It's not going to go away.
So not only do we have Kalshi and Polymarket, right? Those are the two. Kalshi just got approval for political betting, but Robinhood just acquired this company called Bitstamp for $200 million with prediction market plans. It looks like all of these trading platforms now. Robinhood is a little bit more risque, so to speak, as opposed to Schwab or one of those. But
this is proving that things are moving from the fringe to mainstream.
Yes,
definitely. What we thought may not really be players in the market all of a sudden are, because it can be.
Yeah,
and I saw the CEO of Robinhood at the All In Summit last year.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, they're not fringe anymore. Robinhood is
but they're non-fringe, but they are buying in with their acquisition. Well, they're buying into the market,
the prediction market.
By buying.
You know what's interesting about that is that Polymarket is not available in the U.S. Right?
Huh.
Yeah, the regulations shut down.
That.
Yeah, it's not available. How do I know that? I went on and tried, and I looked at it, and I tried to see how does this work? How do you make a bet? That's how I found out that they use that stable coin, which is very interesting. But in the US, but wonder if Robinhood. I'm gonna go try to bet because I was just looking at the Robinhood interface and it does have you got your stocks and it's got all that, and then it has not as many choices as Polymarket, but it does have sporting events and some other things that you can, I want to say bet, invest on one side perhaps. And I wonder if you can do it from the US.
Yeah.
You got
Yeah.
me on that, but my understanding is
This
it's
is another thing that we'll keep track of and continue communicating about as time goes by. But there is $1 billion a week in bets in these markets.
Yeah.
That's not
But
chump change.
I fear about the long-term social impact of every major decision now is preceded by some betting line somewhere, right? Oh, so everybody looks to the odds. What does the betting odds look like? We should vote
well,
that
that's
direction. No, it's backwards.
but that's
We,
the new poll. That's why they gained popularity on the last election. That's when they blew up on the 2024 But they were more accurate than all the pollsters.
It's
You know?
because the people who are making the predictions are making the predictions and putting their money where their mouth is.
Because if you really think Trump's going to win, but you got a pollster in front of you going, who are you going to vote for? And maybe you're embarrassed to say Trump. But in the privacy of your own home, you'll bet on him.
got it. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
I'm not
So,
saying it's
yeah,
good, Jim. Jim, I agree with you. I think there's something sort of evil in the whole thing, and
Yeah.
something's not so cool about it. But I'm intrigued. I wish I could do it. What about a VPN? I'll ask you technical guys. Can I set up a VPN and log back in? Or would they still know it's from the US?
Oh,
no,
yeah.
you could
could.
try a VPN.
Anonymous
Yeah.
VPN, sure.
Oh, I'm going to be hooked, Jim.
Oh, don't do it.
Now you spoke about it, so the SEC is going to be watching your VPN channels.
Oh,
and
dang.
the big rewards that you get from that betting. They
Well,
have to go into
it's where your bank account is, right?
it has to go into your Swiss bank account,
Yeah,
and then you have to
exactly.
yeah.
Probably perfectly legal if it goes into your Swiss bank account. It just can
There you
never
go.
come back to the United States.
May or may not be because
There's a way to do that.
yeah.
So what do you
Okay.
guys think about the fact that 25% of the people on Polymarket come from one country? France, not the biggest. 25% of the gamblers are from France. Maybe they were.
Could be.
No, I
Some
mean
of
that's
them
just
probably
weird,
do.
isn't it?
Yeah. By the way,
I had no
to the
idea
list of
that was
Minstrel, Minstrel
that
is
was
in France. Just in case people didn't catch that part. Very.
So now let's do some betting on these nuclear microreactors that we've got. Now,
Mm.
Bill, wait, Bill. You're the master of segue. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean it.
I love this thing about nuclear reactors, nuclear
Say,
being a Navy man, there are nuclear reactors, and there have been nuclear reactors on submarines since very early on. We've
That's
never
true.
had a major problem or meltdown with any of those. Do you know that aircraft carriers are also powered by nuclear reactors?
yeah, I didn't. That's a good point.
Oh, yeah. It's big, and we could not operate those things. A lot of stuff on a ship is operated with steam, but that steam is being generated with the heat from a nuclear reactor. And we've done pretty good, and those are pretty small spaces. This isn't like somebody who lives 100 miles away from 3 Mile Island. This is where
Yeah.
your bunk is next to the bulkhead with the nuclear reactor on that Navy submarine, right? So
Yeah.
these are things, if something goes wrong, they're all pretty much radioactive.
Yeah, nuclear power, the science of it all has changed considerably. It's much, much safer than it was, say, even 10 years ago or 20 years ago. It's very safe in the way that they handle it. The big problem, and the one that no one can seem to solve, is the fact that they're targets for terrorists, because if you can blow up a nuclear plant and get some nuclear fallout from it in some way and really hurt the people that are in close proximity, yeah, that's the big threat for everyone. And so if I like the idea of these mini,
It's like a dirty
Okay,
bomb
yeah.
if you do that, right? It
If you make
becomes a
them
dirty
smaller,
bomb.
they can only affect a smaller area, and they're easier to contain too if they're smaller. You can hide them down in concrete bunker somewhere, something like that. But man, those are the challenges. Because really we should be on nuclear power. It's clean, it's safe,
Yes.
it's good quality power
Team
at no
Fonda messed
cost.
that up for us.
Yeah.
We do have a storage problem, right? We have to store it after we use it, but there's a lot of thought of sending it to space and sending it to another planet like Mercury or Venus, where it just,
Really?
yeah, put it on a ship to
Oh, I
Mercury and
got.
it's just
Oh
going to
yeah,
burn
because
up in their
yeah,
atmosphere,
yeah, gotcha.
right? We don't want to send it to Mars because we're looking at heading there. But people need to understand that these small nuclear reactors are not the equivalent of a nuclear bomb
Right.
because, yeah, it's a completely different sort of purpose.
Yeah.
And ever, like you said, Jim, if somebody blows up a nuclear facility, it becomes what we call a dirty bomb because
Hmm.
the nuclear reactor has nuclear materials and it diffuses into the atmosphere, but it is not the power of a nuclear weapon. And people, I'm not sure, really realize that. Even people listening to this podcast might not recognize that.
Yeah, and to be fair, nuclear power isn't the only choices out there. We're talking about, Jay, because it's in the news, that $96 million investment. And I think it's good. I think we need to find out how factory built micro nuclear power can be distributed very quickly, shipped around the country. That'd be cool. But there's other safe forms of power that I was talking about. Molten salt reactors, they are cool and they create power. They're totally safe. We're talking about salty water, basically. And then there's these small modular reactors out there. They're bigger than micro reactors, but they can be
By the
factory
way,
built as
everybody,
well.
Josh is Jim's son.
Yeah, he's like a
Yeah.
super nerd, super smart guy. I think his IQ is like 160. So anyhow, he reads everything, knows everything, and maybe we'll get him on here one of the days. Anyhow,
I guess he got that IQ from his mom, huh, Jim?
yeah, it had to be somebody else. The other part of me, the other half of me, the better half. Anyhow,
The latent part, because they say that we are not using all of our brains.
yeah,
So when we have our children, sometimes they get to use a bigger percentage of it than we do,
I
maybe.
said my wife has more common sense than I do. We can go into long stories, but I don't know. Bill knows my background. I basically, my motto in life is buy high, sell low. That's my life's effort all the time. So I'd buy a,
Is that why we're still sub-billionaires,
yeah,
guys?
I bought a car before I had a driver's license, hot rodded it, put more money into it. I think I had, back in the day, you could buy cars pretty
Oh,
cheap. It was 64 and over. I got about $3,500 into it, maybe $4,000 put in it. I sold it for $800.
but Jim, remember, that doesn't count the hours of work.
Oh,
If you
yeah.
put the hours of
Hundreds and
work
hundreds
in
and hundreds of
there,
hours. Yeah. Hot
yes.
rodding. Hot rodding was one of my downfalls in life, but I still kind of love it. I just don't want to go back to it. Anyhow, hydrogen cells, hydrogen fuel cells, that's another thing that might be the future for power too. So, and any hybrid type of combination of any of those things could be a good thing. But man, we are overdue to get into that world and get away from the current methods of creating power for the society, for our society, for the
The other thing is the cost. When you build a nuclear facility, number one, you have to have cooling, right? So there
sure.
has to be a source for cooling. And when you build a large nuclear reactor, we're talking very large, like one of these 3 Mile Island type things. What happens is they have to build them on site. And when they build them on site, they're all custom. They're all extremely expensive because they're custom.
Yeah.
No two, they may use the same basic design principles when they lay the concrete, when they do all these different things, they're always different, which means the maintenance on them is different, which means the calculus of
Mhm.
when they're dangerous and when they're melting down is different. What we're talking about here is factory built,
Mhm.
completely self-contained on a shipping container, right? A nuclear reactor that is
Yep.
cookie cutter, completely all identical.
How much did it say that would produce? Did you remember?
I don't
Seemed like it
remember.
was like 3 or something like that.
Yeah, 3 to 5 or something megawatts. That's an
Something like
immense
that.
amount of power. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
But instead of taking 10 to 15 years to build one of these big ones, it's 1 or 2 years to get this one deployed. But I want to circle back to what Bill was talking about because I wasn't thinking about the nuclear reactors that are already on these military
Submarines and
ships
ships.
and submarines and stuff. And then Jim's point about the terrorism. So we haven't seen that yet because it's not so easy to attack a frigate or a destroyer, right? But what about when it's on just a pedestrian ship or all the other use cases that they have? That could be
Number one, they're smaller.
less damage.
The diffusion amount. But when you
Mhm.
want to go power a data center, you probably need three of these, right? Because you need to have the one that's not working, the two that are,
Oh,
and one
sure.
is a
Standby.
standby, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
You're
So
What
right.
about
you
Yep.
what
pretty
about
much, it's
uranium?
like clustering. You need three of everything in order to run
Yeah.
a
Yeah. Fault
cluster.
tolerant. Yep.
Jim, what about
Absolutely.
uranium? Is there enough? That's the scarcity that's needed for all these things, right? If it's gonna be a standard on all these different use cases that they're talking about, ships and so forth.
I don't think we have a problem maybe with
No,
mining it to some degree, but I don't think there's a shortage for the
I don't
amount
think
that
so
is
either.
needed to run these nuclear reactors.
Yeah.
Could
Yeah.
become
Josh
an
would be
issue.
great to have talk about that.
I could ask my buddy who's over at Oak Ridge National Labs. I could send him a message
He
and
would
ask
know.
him.
Yeah, that
And
would
so
be
what
good.
about with some of these data center deployments where they're talking about that? Would they have multiples? Is there going to be three of these or just a small contained? Maybe there's a
When I
one
talk
megawatt
about three of
version, a
them,
five
Gus,
megawatt version.
yeah, when I talk about three of them, it's
Redundancy.
it's high availability
Okay.
redundancy,
Right.
and if you run a cluster in Proxmox or whatever, they call for three of them, because just being redundant is only part of the equation, because you usually have something down for maintenance or upgrade. So then you have the other two and you want an active type standby capability. When you get down to where you're on the third and only one, it's like life and death is right there, right? Between on or off. So they want you to have three. And I don't know if these guys are going to have three. It's a cost situation and it's the criticality of the operation. But if you're running a data center, how many batteries do you have? If you don't have three nuclear reactors where they're in standby type of thing, you're going to have a bunch of batteries to take over for X amount of time, the data center. So that's all the various equations that they're going to have to put into. But the DOE is moving on and they're sending out lots of money for this. Not only are they getting an A series like Antares did, but the DOE is sending out a lot of money to build and research these different things for safe nuclear reactors.
Yeah, I just looked up what's the average output of a micronuclear power plant, and it's 20 megawatts.
Trying to
That's pretty big. It's a
Did you
lot.
know that since the 50s, MIT University has had their own nuclear reactor
Hmm.
right there, Cambridge? So you never hear about it. It's never
I think they
melted
have in
down.
some of the national labs too. I know Idaho National Lab has a very small one,
Hmm.
1.5 megawatt.
Yeah. So anyway, we're looking at being able to provide the power that we need for AI through these small nuclear reactors. And if we can have then that means that you can have cities who buy their own nuclear reactor and power things up themselves. And I think that's going to happen.
I just looked up too, what do they anticipate AI data centers are going to need? And they said they will need 100 megawatts. Is that right? Anyhow,
A
20,
data center?
is it 100 megawatts? Forget it. What I did look up is how many homes will 20 megawatts handle? Oh, I got it. Here it is. How many homes will 20 megawatts handle? And it'll handle anywhere between 2,000 and 16,000 homes. And an AI data center uses the equivalent power of 100,000 homes. So you can figure all that out from there. Now, I'm not going to
Mm.
try to go down that road right now, but that's an immense amount of power. If 20 megawatts at its best can handle 16,000 homes, and a data center, an AI data center needs the equivalent to 100,000 homes.
Math, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, on the scarcity of uranium, I don't think that it's mining it that's a problem, but there are only 5 facilities worldwide that can produce the specialized uranium fuel that reactors need.
Are
So,
they in US?
Oh, that's the problem. That's the processing side of things. I got you.
yeah, I don't know where they are, but there's only 5 worldwide.
That's true
Wow.
about all these things, like lithium too. There's only a few places right now that do that. So we used to be the primary lithium provider of the world. That we were the
Yeah.
original, but we decided in our whatever you want to call it, our environmental protection type of thing, is that it was too damaging to the environment. So we wanted to shove it off to third world countries. Doesn't say a lot about our ethics, I'll
Yeah,
tell
all
you.
those third world countries are
Good point.
essentially going to pollute the world to where we can't even live in it.
Now we're going to have to come back and do it ourselves because we could send it off to third world countries and other countries that are enemies. And now we don't have control of it anymore. Now they're saying, oh, we got to take it back again. Originated the ability to do it and we gave everyone else the knowledge to do it. And now we have to bring it back again. So you should have just kept it in the first place and figure out how to clean up your act.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Guys, from nuclear reactors to the AI bot requests. 416 billion AI bot requests have been suppressed through Cloudflare. Cloudflare powers about somewhere around 20% of all websites and web traffic, and all of our stuff is on Cloudflare. All of our websites are behind Cloudflare. Cloudflare has some fantastic capabilities to help you defend against things like DDoS, distributed denial of service attacks. And so Cloudflare is a part of the infrastructure that's essential for, in my opinion, all of our stuff that we do is behind Cloudflare, and they protect. So every time a packet comes in to our website or any of our apps, it goes to a Cloudflare IP address. And then Cloudflare takes it and takes a look at it, does inspection on it, and then sends it on to the original website. For instance, just so people understand, when you have Cloudflare fronting your web server, nobody knows your real web server's IP address.
Mhm.
Or you should make sure you turn that part of the DNS off if you ever brought it up live with a native IP address directly to the server. You make sure you got that turned off, because that defeats the purpose of having Cloudflare, because
Yeah.
Cloudflare insulates you. So if Cloudflare's in the middle of my two hands here, on one side you have all the users coming in, and they're using IP addresses that are Cloudflare IP addresses. And if you do a DNS lookup, and that's why Cloudflare does all the DNS lookups for you. So if Cloudflare is doing all your DNS lookups, it is giving you the IP address of one of the tens of thousands or millions of IP addresses that Cloudflare has to front your address. And that forces any hacker's traffic or denial of service traffic to go through Cloudflare. Now, over on this side, when you're going to your original server is protected from the internet, because only Cloudflare can touch your original server. So your request comes in on, basically anybody can use the IP addresses of Cloudflare on the protected side. It comes over, it goes through a proxy, and on the other side, it goes to your server, your original server. But there's a couple of things that you have to do to that original server. Number one, you don't want to have a DNS address on that original server. Why? Because you don't want people to be able to go around Cloudflare to basically corrupt your server. So the other thing is that on that server, you should have, if you don't, have a certificate, and that certificate allows only Cloudflare to get to that original server, period. So in other words, even if somebody did have the IP address of the original server, without submitting that certificate to it, when you try to connect to it, you could not connect to it. So it's a Cloudflare only access. So you create your server as your original server that's out on an original IP address that's unknown to your DNS, but is known to Cloudflare. So Cloudflare proxies all that, cleans everything up, and it's got these capabilities on the inside that you go in and configure your Cloudflare, and it says, hey, fight all these bots, fight all these AI bots. And if you turn that feature on or off, then the bots can come through Cloudflare. So everything goes through Cloudflare, and you can allow or deny. And Cloudflare has a whole portfolio of services that it offers. And believe it or not, most of all those services are free. You can use Cloudflare for free. The other neat thing is that when you go through a Cloudflare environment, remember I showed you that Cloudflare, you got the IP address comes in and then it proxies and then it goes out. Things like the native TCP/IP is maybe over here on your original server because you don't have $1 billion infrastructure, but Cloudflare does. So you can serve up, for instance, the QUIC or QUIC protocol because Cloudflare proxies that, and the requests coming in are the brand new QUIC protocol, which is billions of dollars of protocol engineering and very fast and very powerful capabilities. Cloudflare then proxies that over to your system that's running on an old desktop sitting under your desk. And then Cloudflare will accelerate your entire system. Matter of fact, one of the other benefits of Cloudflare is that if your web server completely goes down, it has a feature, you can go turn it on, and it will keep your website going for anything that's not changing, right?
Like ad hoc, you pay for like a black box, like a break the glass type of.
No,
It's
it
on
works.
only
If it's a static server, it will serve the whole thing, and even if it can't reach the original IP address in the original server.
Yeah,
So
Cloudflare is pretty cool. And you've been using Cloudflare for what, 8, 9 years, 10 years, maybe?
Oh
I don't know, a
yeah,
long time,
better.
Bill. So
Yeah.
you probably better than almost anybody. And I love it too. And you've told me all the time about, hey, look what this can do and how it's fixing that and stopping all this
Yeah.
bad stuff from hitting our website. Those are all cool. So I'm going to bring a different perspective, though, just a little bit different, because I love Cloudflare too. I think you need to all have it just exactly like Bill says, and the cost is not really significant at all. If you're not doing it, then you're just open up to risk and all kinds of things that go on. However, now we think about Cloudflare because of what that capability is. They're running some very sophisticated algorithms and dropping traffic that they feel is just should never hit your website, should never be bombarding your website. So they've now become the gatekeepers of knowledge flow, right? So they're just saying, oh, you can talk to this, but you can't talk to this. And now they become the gatekeepers. So that's not bad if they're only getting rid of the stuff you don't want. But if they're getting rid of the stuff that you did want, then that becomes
Then you have to go through, and it's very sophisticated. And I have a bunch of those use
But I'm
cases.
going to go back and tie it into the Mistral thing.
Okay.
Tie it back to Mistral. Mistral allows you to do open weighting. It would be very good if Cloudflare was doing open weighting as well. That says, you're dumping a lot of traffic that I don't really want. I want to weight this. And you're not dumping enough of the stuff I don't ever want to have come my
But
direction.
Jim, you can set all those parameters on Cloudflare. You can turn off and turn it on. They have WAF, they have workers, they have all sorts of stuff. So if they are cutting something,
yeah,
if it's cutting something off, you go into Cloudflare, you go into the logs, and the first thing you do is you start troubleshooting and saying, this app isn't working. What's wrong? And you go into the logs and it'll say, oh, Cloudflare, due to this certain feature or function, or that it doesn't think you want to have available, it will turn that off. And then
is
it'll
that like
log
a firewall, though?
it's
Like
firewall. No, it's not a
Open weighting
weighting
is not.
system. Yeah, that's
open
not
weighting
the
is
same.
different than setting firewalls, right? So if you say hey, you cut off this URL. I don't want that. And I'm going to enable it. That's different than saying,
Yes.
here's the weighting of the type of information I want coming through. And so,
Essentially, you can set that up. It's a different sort of a weighting thing, but
oh, that would
essentially,
be good.
Jim, you can change all those features and functions. You can turn it all off if you want to, but it's not very smart to do so. That's why you come in. And for instance, I have some apps where I post directly to LinkedIn some of our materials. I do lookups in certain AI systems like we do. And then if the app doesn't work for some reason, I go into Cloudflare and it's filtering that. So for instance, there's these webhooks. So a webhook is, for instance, when this meeting stops recording and when this meeting has been processed by Zoom, at the end of that, Zoom is going to come over and I have a Zoom dot something or other that basically notifies me, and it's called a webhook, and it tells me, hey, I'm done recording and the recording is available. And then I have my application automatically go pull those Zoom files immediately so that they are on our systems, so they're not somewhere else. So webhooks require you to have your own DNS host that they are going to inquire of, and those are stopped by Cloudflare. And I have to go and say, we can allow this as long as it's coming from a known Cloudflare IP address. You see the difference? So it's still secure,
So
or
Bill,
it's coming from a Zoom IP address, right? And so you can qualify within Cloudflare where you can accept webhooks from. And those are the sort of things that are very sophisticated. And it's taken me a lot of time, even though I'm a packet guy, right? It's still very sophisticated to troubleshoot these sort of things and to figure out where the problems are. Yeah. Yeah,
so
Gus.
Bill, so Bill, so the subject is that they're blocking all these bots. And so why would you want to block the bots? I can think of a couple reasons myself. One would be that, doggone it, you're feeding these AI development models all this information. They're getting rich and you're not. So maybe you want to turn it off and then say, hey, you want my information, maybe you got to pay. Is another
That's
reason, though,
exactly it, Gus.
is there another reason, though, that starts overworking my servers, responding to billions of requests that why do I care about them?
Yeah. So all of the AI models are basically bot requests that are sucking up all the information around the world. WordPress just went and by default turned off the allowance of all of these AI bots from accessing WordPress. WordPress is a huge percentage of all the public websites that are out there. Now that's turned off by default. So these bot requests that are basically sucking up all of the information that's available on the internet in order to put it into the training for these AI models, which they then publish and then they charge you for, right? Website owners are saying, hey, maybe my website is more valuable than just getting some Google clicks on it. Maybe it's worth more money than what I'm getting from if people do that. I don't ever do that with my systems. But
well,
yeah, you
Gus,
can turn it off so that they can't use your information to build the next layer of AI. Now,
yeah,
I would not want to do that? Because my information is so rich and so valuable and so wonderful that I would want the AI systems to have my information so that it can make me more famous.
right,
Because that
right.
is a big part, and that's another potential element, right? People are seeding to get themselves
Yeah,
into the AI because if you haven't figured out, if you go in and say, hey, I'm in the market for XYZ, ABC, DEF, the AI system, and you can say which is better, this one or this one, and it'll compare them. And then it's where's the website that I can go buy that from? Boom, shakalaka. You don't
right,
think
right.
that's competing with Google, and they may not be charging for that quite yet, but that is coming.
Yeah, so that's the reason for allowing some bots. And there is good reason, like we were saying, here's Cloudflare making all the decisions, who gets through, who doesn't. Content providers like us even, hey, we don't want you blocking them. We want to get our name out there. That's a little different. Originally, the whole thing, bots bad. That's what IT with bots bad. We don't want them hitting our servers. Why? Because that scraping
Well,
traffic that basically overstresses your servers, number one.
Right.
Number two, it creates a certain amount of noise. That's like all this traffic trying to get to your server that's not real, which makes it really hard to find out whether these are bad guys or good guys doing it. So from a security perspective, I'm a CISSP. I always want to look at things in a security world. So I say this, so you can, it's hard to pick out the bad guys in this. Maybe a lot of them are bad guys. Maybe some of this is, but it really increases the attack surface dramatically for a defender, an IT security defender trying to figure out what traffic should we be dropping. So Cloudflare is doing that for you. And along with it, it may be dropping some good traffic too. And that's the bill saying, hey, you got content providers saying, look, I put a lot of hours in here. I do want my name to get out there. Go ahead and let it scrape everything off of my site so that I get some notoriety. So
the other thing is a Google bot is a crawler bot, which is the basis of the Google index.
Sure,
And
sure.
if you're not in the Google index, guess what? Nobody knows that you exist.
Yeah. Anyhow, that's good. Yeah, we do Cloudflare. Don't ever think that. And the opposite. They're a great company. Yep.
You guys aren't making money on this, are you?
No, not unfortunately not.
I should be, because I'm technically, I
he's an
understand a
evangelist
lot
for
of the
them.
solutions that,
Well, my
Definitely.
takeaway is I'm gonna be buying a little bit of the Cloudflare stock.
I like Cloudflare. I feel like it's essential.
Are they public?
They are public, but on the other hand, they front most of the websites that anything HTTP, anything web goes through Cloudflare. For instance, if you SSH to a server, it doesn't go through Cloudflare. Only web traffic goes through Cloudflare. So
But how
that's
do you know
a
what the address
limitation.
is?
What do you mean?
How do you know what the destination address is?
Because you put your original IP address of your server into Cloudflare
Oh, you're on your own
configuration.
network.
Yeah. And then then Cloudflare does your DNS. So if you go to morpheuscyber.com, it's going to show you an IP address. It's a public IP address. Anyone can go there, but by God, it's going through Cloudflare. And we're protected behind the Cloudflare proxy. And then the side where the morpheuscyber.com site is over here, and it has a certificate. So you can't go directly find all the holes. So if there's any holes in anything, if you're in front of Cloudflare and a brand new hole shows up somewhere that's web-based, they're going to close it. It's great software, and I feel like it's a very technical solution. It's a very powerful solution. It's taken me half a dozen years to understand how it works, and I'm still learning new elements of it because it's a very sophisticated. It has, for instance, Cloudflare, in addition, they have streaming capability. So you can put all of your, instead of hosting all of your stuff on Vimeo or YouTube or whatever, you can host your videos directly on the Cloudflare infrastructure. So we can take our URLs for that and put them directly, those files, and put them on Cloudflare. The other thing is that Cloudflare has an S3 compatible container. So you can deploy an S3 compatible container, and that service is called R2. So anyway, yeah, they have a whole bunch of really cool services within Cloudflare, and yeah, it's
Wait, Bill, well, this week, reach out to Cloudflare, see if they'll become a sponsor.
yeah,
They're going to go, why? You already pitched us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
you gave it
more,
away.
right? Yeah.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
but here's a question for you. So the way you describe it, not to beat a dead horse, but with the DPI, deep packet inspection packet comes in, it looks at it and determines whether it should go or not. But what I understood is that a lot of these scraping people are going through AWS, Azure, and GCP to disguise themselves to come in because they can't tell. But with deep packet inspection, you're still going to see the content. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what the who's whether it's coming from
Yeah,
AWS or
you're saying who the source might
who the
be.
source is.
So
It's
somebody
disguised.
in the Russian Federation coming in, it's first of all, those guys, if they do anything, they use a VPN almost exclusively, just like guys in North Korea do. They figure out how to get it in there, get systems set up that they can access through VPN solutions so that the source of their data, because
But
on
not the
our on
content. So that's my question. Does it go by the source, or does it look at the actual payload and
it
say,
looks at not the payload, it looks at the
hmm,
function.
so
Although
DP
you
the
can
header?
do special WAF functions that look at payload, but that's not the normal way.
Okay.
That's a very esoteric additional capability that you could put into a
So
worker.
VPNs or going through AWS or any of the clouds could fool Cloudflare. No?
No, Cloudflare doesn't care who the source address is.
That's
It
what I was
cares.
asking.
So let me explain. When you say content, let me be clear. The content contains function calls, syntax function calls. So when you send over an HTTP GET, it comes back with a 200 response,
So it's
and
looking at the
that's your
payload.
data. And so payload is different. Payload is the graphic that's in there or the words that are on your website. That's
Right.
content.
It's still part of the header.
But the protocol side of it, where you send a packet in, it's got an HTTP header that has an HTTP GET. And so Cloudflare is going to look at all those GETs and it's going to discriminate and say, oh, this guy's doing a GET and he has this special function of the GET. We don't want to allow that because, and then they also do know who the AI bots are, right? They have them all categorized. So they know who the AI bots are by IP address. So they do know a lot of that sort of stuff. As a matter of fact, interestingly, anything that goes through Cloudflare has GeoIP provided as well. So when you go to a Cloudflare address, it knows where your IP address came from,
That clears it up.
down to the city. But it doesn't by nature say, oh, this says nuclear in it, so we don't let it through. You can do that, but that is not the normal function. This is a certain type of a function call or syntax that Cloudflare can identify as a certain type of command or request or syntax, and that is not what we call content. Content would be the word nuclear inside the data
Sure.
of the call of the GET, and
They're just looking at the headers.
they are looking at the headers inside the protocols, and then they look at who the source address is, and they say, this came from the Russian Federation, and right away, I've turned off all Russian Federation addresses. So if they're stupid enough to use a Russian Federation address, which the real hackers aren't. The real hackers don't come in saying, I'm a Russian Federation guy.
Right.
They don't say that. And so now some do. And so we just unilaterally get rid of those. They're gone. We won't even let those. I don't let a lot of websites in a lot of different countries. So you can go to Cloudflare and you can say, suppress all known high vulnerability countries. Boom, done. And then if one of those countries you get some contract with, you say, oh, except for this one, right? So you can go modify all these different things, but Cloudflare is massively powerful. I'm a huge advocate, and I think you should put 100% of your portfolio in Cloudflare.
Perfect.
Guys,
Stuff
it's been
today.
fun.
So I'm kind of like thinking these are all great things. They all have good upsides. I guess we pointed out a couple of downsides, but none of them are really bad. They're really mostly
Couple
like,
dirty bumps here and there.
yeah, but it's like, how can we develop systems to protect these technologies. We brought that up a little bit, so that's good. Yeah, I think we can all agree that being able to have better ways to clean up the internet, what's going on with what was it, 416 billion uh, trapped
AI
bots, and
AI bot requests.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Since
pretty cool.
July.
That's traffic we can do without. That's cool. Yeah. I think the issue is just about who's in charge. If that's always the problem, every week we talk about it, and we always end up with the same thing. Who's making the decision? Who says what gets through, what doesn't get through? Who says where we're going to place these nuclear reactors? Who says how we're going to protect them? Who's looking out for the
Yeah.
rest of us? These are all great technologies. We all say, hey, good, this is a great solution to a power problem, great solution to clean up the internet, but who is making the decision? And are those guys smart enough to do it on our behalf?
So that's why you come to the Morpheus Cyber Podcast, because we're going to tell you 40 years worth of experience in each one of us with one aspect or another, either business or stocks or infrastructure
Security,
or
yeah.
security and AI and all these different things. We're going to tell
Right.
you. So we are watching as all these technologies start converging, right? So what's the idea of convergence? Tesla has a car, they have AI, so those are two convergence, and then they have a robot. So there's three of them right there converging. So why did we pick these topics? Because we are watching and we need to keep our ear to the rail, understanding what's happening in all these areas as these technologies start to converge. And things are happening so quickly with AI that we need to be up to speed on the material benefits of various technologies, various things. And this is the place where we spend not only a full career behind building the knowledge that we have, but also every week we are studying for a dozen hours on these topics that we bring to you. And so we hope that you enjoy it. Let us know. And pretty soon, coming in the new year, we will have a monthly Zoom meeting that will be public. And so certain ones of you can request to be on that, and then you can ask Jim, Bill, and Gus the embarrassing questions that you've always wanted to answer or ask. Now, we're not going to publicize those, only the people on them will be in it. But we will answer the most embarrassing questions that you can ask. So
All
we'll be
right.
doing that in the new year. Anyway, thanks everybody. Thanks, Jim. Hey, thanks for
Guys, too.
joining in.